Let's get right into it. Today, we're not going to debate if you should get married. We're going to talk about when, and more importantly, how. We're looking at a pretty harsh argument that says jumping into marriage young and unprepared is one of the biggest financial mistakes you can make. So think of this less like a romance story and more like a high-stakes strategy guide for your life.
Wow. I mean, that quote just hits you right in the gut, doesn't it? It perfectly sets up the battle we're talking about today. The beautiful idea of love crashing head-on into the brutal reality of a bank statement. This tension right here can literally make or break your entire future.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to count down 4, let's call them fatal losses, that come from marrying without a solid foundation. And then, and this is the important part, we're going to talk about the way out, the strategic path to doing it right. Okay, let's kick things off with consequence number 4, the dating market penalty. The idea here is pretty blunt, but you need to hear it. It suggests that the adult dating world is basically a marketplace. And in this market, your personal value, your financial stability, your ambition, your whole life situation is what determines the kind of partner you attract. So we're starting our countdown with number 4. And honestly, this first one can set the trajectory for your entire life before you've even really started. You see, there's this unwritten rule at play. Like attracts like. High-value, ambitious people are generally looking for an equal. They want a strategic partner to build an empire with, not just someone to share pizza with while worrying about next month's rent. And that leads to 2 very different outcomes. On one hand, you could attract a rocket booster, a partner who literally accelerates your journey to success. Or you could end up with a rusty anchor, someone who, whether they mean to or not, just weighs you down, becoming a financial and emotional drag on everything you're trying to achieve. All right, moving on to number 3. And this one is a monster, getting trapped in permanent debt. You know that romantic idea of starting our lives from nothing together? Well, this is where that fairy tale gets a serious reality check. When you marry with no money, you don't start at 0. You start deep in a hole. Coming in at number 3, this is the trap that prevents millions of people from ever building real wealth. Let's break down how it happens. Just look at this. Take a pretty standard junior-level salary. A quarter of it, instantly gone, paying off the wedding. A massive 40% chunk, well, that's your mortgage or rent, another 20% for the kid. And you're left with just this tiny sliver for what? Groceries? Gas? There is absolutely nothing left over for savings, for investments, for emergencies. Nothing. And that's how the cycle begins, this vicious dig-a-hole-to-cover-a-hole trap. It starts with a big wedding on credit. Then you take on a huge mortgage. Then the baby comes with all its unexpected costs. And before you know it, you're so desperate you're taking out high-interest online loans just to breathe. And that's it. The trap has snapped shut. Okay, on to number 2. This one isn't about the money in your bank account. It's about something way more valuable, your mental energy. Think about it. Your brain is not an unlimited resource. It's got a finite amount of processing power, and constant financial stress eats up almost all of it. And this mental drain, well, it can be the silent killer of your potential. Let me show you what I mean. Look at the difference here. The focused professional, they get to use 100% of their brain power on growing their career, learning new things, coming up with big ideas. But the person who's drowning in financial stress, they're operating at maybe 40%. The rest of their brain is just a constant, frantic loop of unpaid bills and survival math. There's literally no room left for ambition to grow. This puts you into what's called a scarcity mindset. Your brain physically shifts gears. It stops thinking about long-term goals and expansion, and it focuses entirely on short-term survival. Your only question becomes, how do I make it to Friday? Creativity, strategy, big dreams, they all get replaced by a constant low-grade hum of panic. And that brings us to the number 1, the absolute final boss of consequences: corporate slavery for life. This is what happens when you lose your single greatest weapon in the professional world, your leverage, your power to just say no. And here it is, the number 1 reason, according to this analysis, that a promising career can be permanently derailed. I mean, just think about it. When you're only responsible for yourself, you have all the power. You can walk away from a terrible boss. You can quit a toxic job. But when you have a mortgage payment and a family depending on that paycheck, that power evaporates. You can't take risks. You can't demand what you're worth. You become an easy target because your company knows you're trapped. So that's the ultimate terrible trade-off. You give up your freedom, your potential, your future growth, all for the illusion of security right now. You stop building a career you love and start just clinging to a job you probably hate.
Okay, I know that was all pretty intense, but it's not hopeless. There is a solution. Because this whole thing isn't about being anti-marriage. It's about being pro-strategy. It's about a fundamental shift in mindset, from being a reckless boy to a strategic man. It's about building your kingdom first.
This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? It's the perfect metaphor. You are the leader of your future family. You're the king. But a king who is broke and mentally exhausted can't lead his people to prosperity. He can't build an empire. You have to be strong yourself before you can provide for anyone else.
So here's the path. These are the actionable steps. 1. Delay gratification. Ignore the social pressure. 2. Focus obsessively on your career. Build your skills, build your income, build your assets. 3. Achieve financial freedom. Get debt out of your life and build a solid foundation of savings. And then finally, you enter the dating market from a position of strength and choose a queen to build with, not a dependent you have to rescue.
And in the end, it all comes down to this one question. This is the choice. Are you going to be the king who methodically builds an empire, or the servant who just spends his life surviving? It's not about love versus money. It's about strategy versus recklessness. And the path you choose will define everything.